Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this February 6th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we're on the EOA network. And here in a bit, we're going to have some leadership from the Union County warming station. Maggie Mayhem and Doug Whipple will be our guests this morning, and they'll be with us here in just a bit. How are you, man?
Yeah, it's, what is it, second Monday?
Yeah.
Second Monday. Feels like a real Monday.
It does. It's just been that way, yeah. Man, the weather, though, it's like super weird,
Just
mild.
teasing us.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of cold this morning.
Yeah, a
Windshield
little
was
frosty.
frozen.
Yeah, I think I saw some frost on your windshield.
Yeah, but it's going to get warm today.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's going to get in the 50s.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Toby Keith died.
No.
Yeah.
Really? When?
He's been battling cancer.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I had known that.
Either last night or this morning. I just saw it this morning.
Huh.
Yeah.
I saw him in concert. And Rascal Flatts was in Boise years ago, and Rascal Flatts opened for him, and saw him in concert.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he was 62.
Yeah, young.
Yeah. Well, cancer doesn't discriminate.
No, that's exactly right. 62, my age.
Well,
That's
sad.
awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you said Carl Weathers died, right? The other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think he was very old. I mean,
No, I mean he was on Mandalorian recently.
Right.
Rocky, obviously.
Yeah.
What else was he in? He was in that movie with Adam Sandler, the golf movie.
The original one?
Yeah, the golf Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the guy with only one hand that got bit off by the caddy. His hand got bit off by the alligator.
I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
yeah. You know what's funny is Adam Sandler. I mean, he's one of the wealthiest. I mean, he's been like super successful as far as a movie maker.
Oh yeah.
Got his own movie company, and you know.
Yeah, and he puts all of his friends in his movies.
Right.
It's
yeah.
crazy.
And he pretty well can dictate and do whatever he wants, you know.
Yep. He's a good basketball player too.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
I've seen him play basketball, and he does like a lot of celebrity basketball,
Yeah.
tournaments or whatever. And yeah, he's good. He's good.
Interesting dude.
And a big hockey fan too.
Yeah.
Basketball and hockey.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of an unlikely. I mean, he's so goofy, you know. Especially his early movies are just so.
Oh, his early stuff, like his CD, They're All Gonna Laugh at You.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so funny. I mean, you have to like his particular type of humor, but
Yeah.
it is hilarious.
Well, and it's funny because I heard a testimonial once where he said he decided as he got a little bit more into his career and his own kids were growing up, he decided I wanted to start making movies that my own kids could go see, you know. So he kind of tamed down some of his
He's fun.
more adult humor.
He's good.
Type
he's
stuff,
one of my
so.
favorites.
Well, hey, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Buffalo Peak Golf Course. Go out the Union Highway, take a left, go up the hill. Beautiful 18-hole link-style course. Dana and his team have done a great job. In the summertime, they do a breast cancer awareness tournament, and basically Dana hosts this tournament, and then he takes all the profit from that tournament and donates it to Grand Ronde Hospital Mammography Fund. And here, Dana and Pat Flynn stopped by, and Dana presented him with a check. Check this out.
Hi, my name is Patrick Flynn. I'm the Foundation Manager at Grand Ronde Hospital Foundation, and we're here to talk about the mammography program that we have up there, to where we supply mammograms. We help fund them for those who are not able to fund them themselves, either through insurance or other means like that. So that way nobody has any reason to not get a mammography scan. This good cancer prevention, as we all know, early detection is key. And wanted to hand this off to Dana London from Buffalo Peak, and he has some news for us.
Well, thanks, Patrick. My name's Dana London. I'm the general manager at Buffalo Peak Golf Course over in beautiful Union, Oregon. This is our fourth year of host.
Back up.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
This is our fourth year of hosting a breast cancer awareness tournament out at Buffalo Peak. And we raise money and we donate it to the hospital. This is our 4th year, like I said, and I think to this point, with last year's tournament, we've donated just a little bit over $13,000 that goes directly to the program. So there's no, I can't get tested, I can't get checked, whatever. Yes, you can. So this year's tournament raised a total of $3,295, and we've got this nice check here to present to
Fantastic.
Patrick.
Thank you.
What an awesome thing that Dana and his team are doing out there at Buffalo Peak. They have a lot of tournaments like that. Dana and I put on a tournament in the summer that gives a $1,000 scholarship to a high school athlete here in the Valley every year. And this year we'll be on year 3 or 4. I think it's year 4. And we just raise the money and we hook a couple kids up, a boy and a girl here in the Valley. LHS girls basketball beat Pendleton on Friday night 55-34. They close out the GOL season this Friday right here at home against Ontario. That game will tip off at 6 o'clock. The boys dropped another tough one in Pendleton as they were there as well on Friday night, 57-53. They also finished the GOL right here at home on Friday against Ontario, 7:30 tip-off. Girls wrestling has their district tournament in Scappoose a week from Friday. And the boys wrestling, they had their senior night on Friday night. It was pretty awesome. They didn't lose a match. I mean, granted, they were wrestling Nissa and Ontario, but I mean, they beat Nissa 79-0 and turned around and beat Ontario 66-0. Wow. This wrestling team, 7 seniors, a stat keeper, girl senior, and National Coach of the Year, Clell Carson, look to win their 3rd in a row state championship. It's going to be tough. They're, like I've said all year, Sweet Home and Crook County are both really deep, and we're going to have to bring our A game to get number 3 in a row. EOU Track and Field hosted the Lou Thorne Memorial this weekend. The Mounties hit 6 A standards, and so for those of you that don't know, an A standard in track and field in indoor means automatic qualification for nationals. And they also hit, I believe, 2 B standards. TJ Davis, who's on the screen right now, he's an All-American and a national champion in the heptathlon, broke the school record in the 60-meter hurdles on Saturday, which was pretty cool. He came up to me before his race and he said the school record's going down today.
Huh.
And he did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a heck of an athlete. Tyler Jones, who's on the screen right now, he set a PR in the high jump and came literally within millimeters of breaking Thad Hathaway's school record, which has stood since 1995.
Wow.
7 foot, half an inch is the school record, and he jumped just under that for his PR. And if he would have hit his last jump, he would have broke the school record as well. So it was a good weekend for EOU indoor track and field. EOU softball, Benny, pull that one off. We're not there yet. EOU softball went on the road to California and won all 3 of their games to start the season. They beat Simpson 3-0 in the first game. Then they turn around and beat Jessup 14-5, which the crazy thing about this whole sequence of wins for EOU softball, Jessup beat defending champion and number 2 ranked in the country Southern twice this same weekend. And we turned around and beat them 14-5. So, I mean, things are looking really good for EOU. Kaylee Hoskins threw a 2-hit shutout with 14 strikeouts in the first game. And then Haley Tyree had 4 hits on the weekend, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. Both of them are going to join me on Thursday for the sports show, so that should be cool. EOU baseball also had a very nice weekend, taking 2 of 3 from St. Martin's right here at home. They beat them on Friday. They came back and won 9-8. In the first game on Saturday, they shut them out 10-0. It was an awesome game. A 2-hit shutout by Will Sessler and Tucker Zander. And then, unfortunately, they dropped the third game 7-6. But this EOU baseball team's 5-2, and I'm going to keep saying it. They've already won 2 more games than they won all last year. They're 5-2. Last year, they were 3-39. I mean, so something's different. Their head coach is joining me today. And that sports show will probably come out tonight or tomorrow with the interview with Kyle Treadway. They head to Pacific on Friday to take on George Fox, and then they also play Pacific University as well. So they have games all through the weekend, 3 games. EOU men's and women's hoops both won one of the 2 games they played. They both beat Walla Walla, which is almost a gimme in the CCC. The Walla Walla struggles, and then they both lost to LCSC. We'll talk more about hoops and their games this weekend on Thursday. And then finally, EOU had 4 athletes in the CCC as athletes of the week. Kaylee Hoskins was pitcher of the week. Tyler Jones was field athlete of the week. Liz Grandel was women's field athlete of the week. And TJ Davis was men's track athlete of the week. That's a good week for EOU. 4 athletes right there in the mix as the best athletes in the CCC. And you're going to see Kaylee Hoskins. She's an All-American, and she already broke EOU's single season strikeout record. You're going to see a lot of records fall this year. And she's only a 2-year girl. So she came last year. She'll be here this year. And she's going to break pretty much every pitching record at EOU. She struck out something like 314 girls last year, which is wow. And she started off with 14 in game 1. I mean, she's gonna destroy a lot of records this year, and she'll probably be an All-American again. It's pretty cool. Morning Sports Report brought to you by Buffalo Peak Golf Course. Get out there. Meet me at the Peak.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who are you picking for the Super Bowl?
Oh, I want them both to lose. I want to know why? Because the Chiefs are in my division,
Right.
okay? And the 49ers beat us in the Super Bowl. The only Super Bowl we ever went to, we got smoked by the Niners.
Okay. So other than the grudges that you have, who do you think should win?
I think the Chiefs are going to win. They're both really good teams, but I just think the Chiefs have, they've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And Mahomes
he's pretty hard.
Big games, he's tough to beat, man.
Yeah.
He's been to the Super Bowl. What is this? This is 4th time or something like that, or 3rd time? Yeah. Been in an AFC championship like 5 out of 6 years or something.
Yeah. So I have a friend, one of the guys I worked with in production, I guess probably 35 years ago, and he has season tickets for the Chiefs. I don't think he's going to be at the Super Bowl, but anyhow, it's like everything on his feed is Chiefs. It's just like.
Yeah. I mean, there's some football fans. I'm not crazy like that. I mean, I'm a Chargers fan, but I'm not like a crazy, like shove it in your face Chargers fan. When they do something cool, I get excited, but lately that hasn't been the case very often.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we did hire Harbaugh, which is kind of cool, so it's exciting. But I think the Chiefs are probably gonna win. I mean, I wouldn't bet money on it though. They're both really good teams. San Francisco's defense is really, really tough. They got the best running back in the league, and arguably, I mean, Brock Purdy had. You got two guys on that team that are potential MVPs, in Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. So, who knows? I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a look outside and look at the weather today. It's looking pretty. A little bit of snow on the mountains, and
it's just a big tease.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no way we're done with winter yet.
No,
No.
I sure hope not.
We still got a lot coming.
And then let's look at the forecast here. So up to 50 today. You're right. That's crazy. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all in the 40s.
It's going to get some moisture in the air on Thursday and Friday. It looks like some rain and some snow.
Yep.
That we can just skip that part of it. I'm okay with it.
The rain part of it?
Yeah, the snow, rain.
But wouldn't you rather have the rain than the snow?
Yeah, probably.
If you had to make a choice.
You don't have to scrape rain off your window.
Yeah.
To move. You can't really slip in, on rain. But snow's just annoying. I don't understand why people like it. I understand why we need it.
Right.
But I don't get why you would like to deal with snow. It makes everything harder.
No, it's definitely inconvenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
for the people that like to ski and do snow activities, snowmobile.
Which I don't understand either. Why would you want to be wet and cold?
Yeah.
I like being outside when it's cool, but I don't like being out there when it's raining or wet or.
Yeah.
No, not a fan.
Yep. All righty. Well, we are going to have Maggie Mayhem and Doug Whipple from the Union County Warming Shelter with us here in just a minute. We'll be right back.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku. Here in Eastern Oregon, we're blessed to live in such a wonderful area. And though it may seem mild-mannered, there's actually quite a lot that goes on in this area. And apparently, there's two dinguses who happen to be here that are actually crazy enough to get up at the crack of dawn to talk about it. Tune into AM Live on EOA with Brent and Dodsey, featuring special guests, weather, sports, news, and more, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m., only on EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
Okay, right now. So, all right, we are back with the warming station.
Warming station.
Warming station, folks. Maggie Mayhem and Doug. Yeah, hey, thank you guys for being here today. How are you?
Awake.
Yeah.
I almost awake.
Yeah. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having us on here. It's really awesome to be able to chat about the warming station and all the improvements we've made.
Good. Good. And what did I call it? I called it
We called it warming shelter.
the warming shelter. Okay.
I mean, easy mix-up.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, yeah, no, glad that you're here. And it's kind of funny. Our weather has been like super crazy, right? So, super mild right now, but like a few weeks ago, it was like as bad as it gets in Eastern Oregon, you know, with snow and
Yeah, it was like -12.
yeah. And the wind was blowing and it was crazy. So, so how's the year going? I mean, kind of give us a report and tell us how things are.
Yeah, it's going really well. This is our second season in the location that we're at right now. So last season we had about 76 guests, and already this season we've had 98.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And last season we helped 19 people find housing, and this season 25 people have secured housing.
Wow.
So is
Yeah.
that 93 unique guests or 93 total? Do you count?
Sorry, 98 unique guests.
So it might be the same person 4 or 5 nights, but that only counts as one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then 9 people have reconnected with family or friends. So
That's
and
awesome.
yeah. So there's quite a few people that have left. So we have new faces, but actually our numbers aren't really going down as far as like people per night. So that just kind of shows that this is a bigger problem than people think that it is. Housing insecurity is a bigger problem.
Yeah. So help us understand or identify with those people that you guys are serving. I mean, we're fortunate enough to not have those problems. So what are some of the circumstances that have led them to that point, or what are some of the challenges that they're facing that are making them stay at the warming station?
I think it's a whole mix of things. So, you know, you'll have people that have experienced houselessness for years, and it's just really hard to kind of dig your way out without any sort of support system, and we act as that short-term and long-term support system for a lot of folks. Sometimes we're the only support system that people have. Some people, it's medical issues. They've suffered some medical issues, and then they lose their job, they can't pay for things, rising cost of housing. I mean, all over the country, but it's, you know, not unique to our town and stuff. But what is unique is all of our community partners that help us. So it's not just us, it's all these other organizations that are helping.
So tell us about some of those so that we can give, you can give them a shout out.
Yeah, Community Connections of Northeast Oregon helps us, Northeast Oregon Housing Authority, ODHS, CHD, Center for Human Development is a huge help. And Grand Ron Hospital, huge help.
RC Liquidators has been a huge help. They donated over 40 pairs of boots at the beginning of the season. And that, for the population we serve, was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watching somebody that has holes in their shoes that's been walking around in the snow and stuff, and we go, come on out, and we, give them a brand new pair of boots, and as they put them on, the tears of gratitude, rolled down their face. That was amazing for us.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like last season, we saw a lot of issues with like feet and frostbite. And then this season, we still have, I mean, especially with that super cold snap we had, there's a couple individuals that are hurting from frostbite. But as far as foot issues, which has always been a huge problem, it dramatically reduced. And I think that RNC, they knew that would be super helpful for us. So it's pretty cool.
And also, we've got some store shelving out in our garage this season that we didn't have last season, and so we have a variety of clothes that we can, give to our guests, and we got that from the Underground Oasis, which is huge because we're also partners with Community Kindness and People Helping People, but we can either give them a voucher for one of those places, and then they got to make it across town, or we take them out to the garage, and we have stuff that we can provide for them right there, which is awesome.
Yeah. So there are a number of other, I mean, we're in this funky place where we are right now with drug use and the way that it's impacting people, and fentanyl being readily available, and all of that is just, it seems to me like it's just made some of those problems worse. It just, and then on top of that, and we've spent quite a lot of time talking about the mental crisis of people that really need a place to be, and there just isn't a place to go. What are you mentioned that you have a program? Talk to me about how are you able to get, other than boots, shoes, a place to stay. I'm interested to know how are you getting people into housing? How are you helping them move on with some of those other issues that might be keeping them in a place of homelessness?
So our services have expanded. So now we have our resource center, which has allowed us to open up for daytime services. Warming station is seasonal, it's just through the cold winter weather season, and then the resource center is year-round. And so that's a daytime service that we can offer. This is the second season that the warming station resource center will have staff. So Doug and I are able to do direct services with folks to help connect them to all of these different organizations. We're able to go to, we're certified community health workers. So we're able to go to appointments with people. We can keep files. If people sign up for the community health worker program that is through NEON, Northeast Oregon Network, who is our fiscal sponsor also, then we can keep files on them. They can have their mail sent to the warming station, which is, I think, one of the biggest helps, actually. So people are able to get their
mailbox there, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, birth certificates, ID, Social Security, I mean, you name it, or just like correspond with family. That was another big thing of like being able to reconnect people with family that may be out of state, they might have been houseless for a while, needed that just place to settle for a second to, get reestablished and stuff.
And it's also up there at the warming station, it's a different and unique environment. And a lot of the population that we help, they don't trust people at CHD. They don't trust people at the hospital or DHS, and they don't want to go there. And so, we can provide services. I like to think of us as the hub in the center of the wheel and connect them with the various service that's out there for them. But also when they have that barrier of I'm not going to CHD, they're the enemy. We have the ability to call up and say, hey, can you guys come up here and meet with this person? And then they do in an environment where they feel safe. And we, establish that bridge with the services that help them the most. Because the most common problem we have is there's not enough affordable housing. There's a significant portion of our guests that get Social Security, but it's nowhere near enough to pay for their own house or anything like that. But it's just enough where they get cut off from other services. So, when they get enrolled and they're able to deal with their other stuff, it makes a lot more doors open.
And also, so with our resource center, we have really limited hours during the warming station season because it's just really, really busy. and Doug and I are just constantly like trying to play catch up with our work and do direct services. But right now it's Monday, we're open Monday for walk-in hours from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then on Wednesdays, it's 9 a.m. to 3:30. And from 9 a.m. to noon, DHS staff will be there at the station to meet people there. And then HUD, or Northeast Oregon Housing Authority, will be there from noon to 3:30. And so they're able to help, people navigate the low-income housing or housing vouchers system. And it just kind of started. Having those two organizations there on Wednesdays just started just a few weeks ago, and it's already been hugely successful. So it's pretty great. And hopefully, as time goes on, we'll have other organizations have staff come there, like Doug was saying, hub, just like a hub for community.
Yeah. Are you feeling like those connected services are being successful? I mean, that you're, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's pretty fantastic, and I think that I know that DHS has said that they've seen, that it's already helped. They've wanted to do more outreach anyway within the community, which is fantastic because they offer a lot of services. CHD, I mean, they've been hugely helpful in just a lot of their. They can do transportation for people. Yeah. Which is fantastic. Oh, transportation, community connections. Yeah. They actually last season there was an issue with our guests not being able to easily get to and from the station for either there for overnight services to check in or even a check out in the morning. Yeah. And we had quite a few guests, and usually do have quite a few guests that have limited mobility. So this season, transit made it so their first route of the day on the yellow line picks up right in front of the station. And at night, their last route of the day drops off right in front of the station. So that has been amazing for people to get up there and not have to worry about pushing their wheelchair.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things that helps that getting people housed last over time, we work with the Housing First model, which means the first barrier that we want to remove is their lack of housing. And once we get into there, we work with that permanent supportive housing to where we don't just get them in a place to live and say, okay, your house, see you later. Yeah. Well, we won't come back. We go back and check on them and, do things like, hey, now that you're housed, do you want somebody to go grocery shopping with you? Since for the last however many years, well, you don't have a house, you can't really buy anything but, grab and go food from places. And so, get somebody to teach them how to grocery shop. If their house gets kind of trashed and not cleanly, we can have somebody, come over there and help them once a week or so to help clean it up, kind of teach them how to do that stuff. Because a lot of our guests don't have that ability, don't want to. don't understand why it's important. So we can, provide that kind of service. And then also regular health care that, like I said, Maggie and myself establish these relationships with people and they trust us. So we can even be put on, if they got an appointment with their doctor or anything else, we can be put so they contact us as well. So we can contact them and say, hey, we need to get to that doctor's appointment today. So we can call and secure a ride for them and we'll meet them there, go through that stuff, which I think all that stuff coupled together makes what we do last over time.
That's awesome. So how do you, certainly people end up in a housing crisis. Some people end up in a housing crisis situation because of their drug use or because of some addiction that has a negative impact on their family pushes them away. I mean, any number of a different thing. How do you guys deal with that? How do you create a disincentive to move them away from some of those negative aspects to get them into a healthier place?
That's also one of the benefits of that housing first model.
Okay.
It's been proven that when you don't worry about those other stuffs until you get somebody housed,
Okay.
and then you start working on that if they want to, that's what's been proven over time to work the best with the population that we work with. We get them housed and then start, providing those other services if they want to. But it's proven that just getting people housed and doing like we do, checking on them over time, reduces their drug and alcohol use significantly over time.
Okay.
Doug and I also can lead by example. So we were one of the, I guess, like strengths that we have is that we have lived experience. So I was I'm 4 years clean and sober now, and I experienced houselessness for a very long time, and it was through a support system. I have a great support system here in LeGrand. It's fantastic. That I was able to get sober and to kind of integrate back into the community and stuff and find new strengths and so we're able to have that going in when we're meeting with folks that may be suffering from some sort of affliction and there's a trust almost immediately, like there's a language that we can understand that they can understand, and it's been super helpful. And like I said, leading by example. Like, Doug, what are you at, like 20 million years clean
If I do
and
my
sober?
part and God does his, on Friday I'll have 23 years clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived here since the late 80s and been involved in the criminal drug culture for that, that entire time. So I've got connections with the vast majority of guests that come in there. I either know them personally or I know their parents or, there's some sort of connection. And so, like Maggie said, that there's some trust and respect there right off the get-go because they know. I don't have to tell them about my past. They know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that opens a lot of doors to where other people can't.
Right.
Just that familiarity.
Right. So give me an idea of a very practical way that you're moving. Where are you moving them? How are you succeeding in getting them housed? I mean, what does that look like? Is that a hotel that you're paying for locally, or not you guys? But what's happening there?
So it's like the whole network that I was
Right.
talking about. Northeast Oregon Housing Authority, they're Timber Ridge facility. They're low-income housing. Timber Ridge that was just built over by
Okay.
the
Right.
distribution plant. Yeah. That has housed quite a few individuals that would otherwise stay at the station.
Mm-hmm.
Actually housed a former guest that had been houseless for like 2.5 years, and he is doing fantastic now.
Wow.
Totally new person.
Right.
And we do long-term support. He still comes to the station and just like hangs out sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
But so with Timber Ridge opening up, it actually opened up a lot of other apartments in the area like having not only trust with guests, but trust now with some of these other apartment complexes when they know that we have guests at the station
Right.
coming, you know, that are seeking housing. There's a certain level of trust that I didn't actually expect was going to happen, but I've just been seeing it over time.
Yeah.
Community Connections helps with rental assistance, or has in the past, when the funding is there. Been able to help with utilities. ODHS has been able to help with the same, and CHD, depending on what program, they can help with rental assistance when the funding is there. So,
Yeah.
so that's helped. Oh, and getting people their Social Security, because if they don't have an address
Right.
or a phone, you know, and we help with those things, and so.
A lot of our guests, you know, some of the paperwork to get into housing, you get packets that are huge, and their ability to fill out those papers just isn't there. And so we sit down with them and help them fill out all that paperwork and stuff like that. And then, like I said, we go to those appointments with them, so we can translate. 'Cause like Maggie was just saying, there's a different language that we speak, and we can understand them, and they can understand us. However, you get them in other environments, and they're lost. So we can go there with them, you know, help them fill out the applications, go to that part with them, and like I said, having that, you know, the reminders of the appointments, and having somebody there that they trust go there with them, and all that kind of stuff that's huge, huge.
Yeah. How do you? I got a couple of questions in my head. So I have family, and I've been connected with people who own housing, and they have a mortgage that they're paying on that rental, on that apartment complex or whatever it is, and that sometimes, I sympathize with the cost of rent going up, and it's artificially high, without a doubt, and there's a lot of studies. But at the same hand, there's a time when we've just kind of demonized the landlord, like that, oh, they're just making a ton of money, and actually, you know, many of those landlords, they have a mortgage that they're trying to pay, and so it's kind of the circle that has to keep going around. So I guess the question is, is there federal funding? What happens when you have a non-compliant renter? You guys have worked hard to get them in place, and they're just not progressing. They're not compliant with just basic things of getting along. Yeah.
Sorry.
And maybe the question is does that happen very much? Yeah.
It does happen on occasion. We also work with Glenda Moyer, who's on the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. And she is an amazing lady. She will come whenever we ask her to. And she's not just an advocate for the renter, she's also an advocate for the landlord. Because a lot of the stuff with people staying housed is renters don't know their rights, and neither do landlords. So when we can educate them both and come together, then that's when things happen good. And if somebody's being non-compliant, that's when we can go back and we can talk to them, because, you know, we got that trust.
Right.
And we can talk to them and then talk to the landlord and then bring them together so they can meet on common ground, because it's usually just an understanding or misunderstanding, or, you know, something like that, something fairly simple that turns into something great big.
And if the reason, like maybe they lost housing because they were a not so great renter in the past, then while we're helping them seek housing, that's something that we will work with the individual on. Like, we'll address those issues. And Doug and I aren't afraid to be truthful.
Right.
But we're both like pretty, empathetic, compassionate individuals. And so we want to encourage people to do good through, you know, positive reinforcement. Because, like I said, sometimes we're the only support system, so it is going to be that long-term support. So,
well, and I love that concept, and my fear is that sometimes And I think we see that. And that's a big debate going on right now. A conversation is, what happens when there's no disincentive? What happens when, when there's no, and local law enforcement is having a huge problem with Measure 110 because of that. There's no, and with Narcan, which we all should have. I mean, it's like we should all have a fire extinguisher, but in some ways we've even eliminated the disincentive of death, and so that there are people, and I know these because I know law enforcement people who have revived people, and they wake up and they go like, man, that was an incredible high, and so that, I mean, it requires support, but it seems like sometimes it also requires tough love. It requires, some measurements of some kind. I mean, are you finding that, or I don't know, what's your thought of that?
Actually, the stuff with 110, there was recently a Measure 110 symposium where it compiled a whole bunch of the data from that stuff and everything else, and the rates of addiction and deaths and all that stuff have decreased or went about the same as the other states around us that don't, disincentive, all that stuff. And disincentive things with that hard love doesn't work. The war on drugs has been on for forever, and all it's done is we incarcerate more than the next 3 people behind us.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. The statistics have shown that when you can put somebody in a loving, caring environment, that's a suitable environment, they are a whole lot more likely to get clean and do things. One of the things that we can do, when we start working with people like that and connect them with other services, and so they do get clean, then it opens doors. They can move into the local Oxford houses or other recovery living houses here in town. And that doesn't even begin to speak to the dollars that people getting housed saves our community. The average person experiencing houselessness goes to the ER on 5 times as much as the normal human, or than, I can't say normal, than anybody else.
Yeah.
And their stay there is usually 3 times as long. And part of that is they don't have access, to the things that you and I take for granted, like normal hygiene, regular medical attention and things like that. So they get a cut and it becomes infected, and then it becomes something huge, rather than them just being able to deal with it like you and I do on a regular basis. We take that stuff for granted, and that is a huge thing for them.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into Measure 110 because that's a ball of worms.
Right.
Yeah, and what you guys are doing is significant. But I probably couldn't disagree with you more about on Measure 110 and the results of that thing, just because I know how it has affected us locally here in a very awful way. But again, let's not get into that. Yeah. Okay. And I know Kyle feels the same way. But,
Well, you brought it up.
yeah, right.
I mean, we shouldn't have brought it up at all in my eyes. Let's talk about functionality of the warming station.
Yeah.
How many people have to be there in order for you to open? Because one of the things I notice a lot is online, you're constantly looking for people to fill shifts. How many people have to be there, and is that a law? Because I've volunteered at other warming shelters on the west side, and there's literally been one person there for 30 people. So is there a law? Is there something that's making us have to have, and how many people have to be there? So I guess that would be the first question.
These are policies that the board of directors came up with. So 2 people there at all times. So 2 volunteers or a volunteer and a staff member there at all times while guests are there.
Okay. And so if we don't say there's a time, there is sometimes when there's 3, right?
Sometimes during check-in, when it gets real busy, there's 3. We would like to have 3 there all the time.
If we have to, can we drop that 3rd person? I mean, are we still opening if?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that would be one of my questions, is just the functionality of it. It seems like there's times where like we're looking for like shifts that are doubled up, and you know what I mean? Obviously, you have over 100 volunteers, but there's still shifts open. You know what I mean? So one of my questions, and you answered it, would be like, how many people have to be there, and is there any way we can drop that down? I mean, I would think that it would be important to have 2 people there at nighttime, especially. But I mean, from what time do you guys open? 6 to 10. One person could probably get by.
Whoa, it's wild. It's wild. Like check-in can be
I've seen it
really,
firsthand.
really busy.
I've done it. I've volunteered at a warming station, and I was the only one there with 25 people.
But go ahead, Maggie, and talk about some of those.
Oh, sorry. I like our huge issue is volunteer burnout every season.
Of course. Yep.
And that, like, the check-in and check-out can be really overwhelming. We're such a small community that seeing your neighbors come in that are experiencing this and needing that service can be pretty draining.
Traumatizing. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and you know, could we get away with one volunteer? Possibly. It would burn them out, you know.
Well, and there's probably a safety concern there too, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we would prefer to have 3 at all times.
Sure.
You know, safety, and plus, you know, to take care of our guests' needs. You know, there's every door in our facility, when it closes, it locks from the outside. The guests can always get out of their rooms, but you know, when they close, they lock. And we also have little storage cubbies for them out in the garage, so we need somebody to let them in there because we don't want to have problems with theft or anything like that.
Right.
And so there's a whole bunch of stuff. And that during that check-in process, because when guests check in up there, you know, we have them fill out some paperwork if they're brand new, and plus we assign them to a room, and it's a different room every night. And there's also people preparing the hot meal that we serve every night. So that's the reason why there's always at least 3 there during that time, and Maggie's there during that time as well.
During the week, yeah. Doug and I have staggered our schedules so that he's able to be there to support the volunteers during checkout time in the morning, and then I am the late one. I get the later schedule, so the fact that I'm up right now.
Well, I mean,
You get
okay,
kudos.
so would there be like a possibility if it like gotten brought in front of the board and talked about, like, say if you only had one person able to volunteer, instead of closing the doors, maybe cutting down the number or something, you know what I mean, still remaining open. At least you'd be helping 12 people or 8 people, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you could turn people away, but it seems to me like as long as there's a person willing to be there, it should be open.
So, and you know, I totally agree with the frustration. I agree with the frustration. I started out as a volunteer when the location was out behind Sorbonne's.
Yeah.
There were times people didn't show up for their shifts, and I would pull the double night shifts and stuff, and sometimes I would be by myself.
Yeah.
And it was fine. I mean, people get really scared. I was probably about 113 pounds at that time, gained a couple pounds since. But I wasn't fearful.
I just kind of think of it like, if you go to like a bar in this town, right? On a Friday night, there'll be 30, 40 drunk people in there and one bartender working. You know what I mean? I kind of look at it, it's very similar. It's probably safer up there, actually, than it is at working 100%. At a bar. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm just thinking about, like, if it's 10 degrees below zero and we don't open because we don't have a couple extra people, it's like, maybe, you know what I mean? I mean, I'd volunteer. I'll go up there and sit with 20 people without being, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, like, for me, I just think that we got to, like, find a way to just open no matter what. You know what I hate to say it like that, but, like, everything that we can possibly, and I know you guys try, and I know you guys put a lot of effort into getting the people there, and I'm not criticizing it by any means. I just think that it can be to the point where if we're having such a hard time finding volunteers, and right now especially, people don't even want to work, you know what I mean? Let alone volunteer. So right now, finding volunteers is like finding a needle in a haystack. But I mean, there's got to be a little bit of room to play there in my eyes.
And I, like I said before, I I agree. I agree with the frustration. I think that there should be alternatives. This is a safety measure, you know,
Right.
like maybe it'll be different. It is also a way to get more people to volunteer if they know somebody
Right,
else is
right.
going to be
That's what I was
there.
just
Well,
gonna say.
I really wondered if it was tied to money. Like, is there a law or is there a rule that says the only way you're going to get this grant money is if you have 2 or 3 people there, or if it's just a bunch of yahoos sitting in a room saying, well, we think that there needs to be 3 people. You know what I mean? Like, if it's tied to money, that's one thing. But if it's just people sitting around, you know, like having this discussion about and I get the safety part about it, but I also get the part that if we have this place sitting there and it's got heat and it's got light and we're paying, you know, you're paying for it, then there's got to be a way, you know what I mean, to maybe cut down the number or you know, I mean, I just.
Do you guys feel like you've kind of gotten past that crisis point a little bit? I mean, are things a little bit better for your volunteers and stuff? Yeah. Have you had people come forward?
Yeah, I do volunteer trainings every Tuesday and Thursday night up at the warming station. They start at 5:30. I'll see you there tonight. Then, guys, you said you'd volunteer, right?
Yeah, you
Come
won't
on
see me
up,
there
man.
tonight, but you'll see me there.
Come on up. And it is getting better. You know, we started out this season because, you know, it's the first time the warming station's been at the same place for 2 consecutive years. It's the
huge.
first
Yeah.
time that the warming station has ever had 2 paid employees, and we're going into our 2nd year, and so we're finding some stability. But and this year we changed the way that we do volunteer recruitment, and everybody has to go through not only a training, but they also have to have a background check so that our
should be.
volunteer right.
Yeah.
And that has slimmed down some of our volunteer
Yeah.
forces. And then plus a lot of our volunteer force is aging church ladies, you know, and absolutely right. You know, there'll be 35, 40 people in the bar on a Friday night, but I don't think they'd be there with just the aging church lady.
Yeah.
You know, so there's some validity to what you say, but there's also, you know, the other side of the
No,
coin.
they're
And-
there with a 100-pound college girl. I mean, not much difference.
Yeah. You know, and we do. Like I said, we would like to have 3,
Right.
but if we can't, we got 2.
Right.
And that's, you know,
I mean, I get the whole safety thing. I was just wondering. I mean, it's just a thought in the back of my head. Like, is there a way where is it tied to money, or is it just people saying, hey, you know, like, if like me or you were volunteering, I would be perfectly fine sitting there with 25 dudes. You know what I mean?
Honestly, big same here. Like I could
Yeah,
sit there but I also know the guests, and I understand that there could be some amazing volunteers that they're
aren't comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
get-
Right.
you know, when you bring up money, so
Yeah.
super small like funding base. So Neon Northeast Oregon Network is our fiscal sponsor. We're really small, and we are dependent upon local donations for our resource center. We're dependent upon small like foundation grants. I had a whole list of our funders. Sorry, Lisa. So we get these grants through Neon. Neon is the one that has to apply for these grants, and then the funding comes to us. Our resource center, our expansion of resources was through a grant that was awarded to the Zion Lutheran Church that allowed us to open up our resource center. Has 5 workstations, 5 computers, fax,
That's awesome.
scanner, printer, not faxing capabilities as of yet.
Who uses faxes anymore anyway?
You'd be surprised.
Do
We
they?
are,
Oh, man.
we have to.
Yeah.
We're navigating that one.
Well,
Yeah.
most people email now.
No,
Yeah.
but fax is secure. Email
Okay,
is not.
email's not.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We can encrypt it if we can do it
Yeah.
correctly, which I'm learning.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother jungle, right?
So, I mean, basically, my whole question is there like a possibility, like would the board be open to like making it based on the individual who's volunteering? Right? Like, say like Doug has three shifts open, and somebody like me who would be perfectly comfortable being by myself says, hey, I'll take all 3 of those tonight just so you can open. Is that something that the board would be willing? You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about me in particular. I'm just talking about, maybe even you. Like, hey, I'm cool with it. I got a phone. You know what I mean? I know the number to 911 if there's any problems.
And
like,
Doug and I are also on call.
You know what I
do a
mean? Like,
switch
is
off.
that a possibility to like help shed off some of these nights? Like, there's been a couple recently where we just didn't even get to open because there wasn't enough volunteers, and that's nobody's fault by any means. That's just we live. We're serving 30 people a night in a small community, and we can't even get people to work in this community, let alone volunteer.
Oh, I know. The sacrifice to volunteer is
it's
huge.
so high. Yeah, because
You're taking away from family, that time, or just like to rest.
right. Or you're working 60 hours a week to get by, or you're working opposite shifts as your wife or husband or significant other to take care of the kids, and then you want me to volunteer on top of it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's tough times for volunteers. That's why I asked, like, is there a possibility that it can be on a person-to-person basis? That way, if we do run into nights where there's not enough people, you can say, hey, we should, Kyle or Steve said that they would volunteer tonight, and that's enough. We can open the doors and let these people get out of 5-degree weather.
And I think that these are things that we have already, planned on bringing to the board.
I love it.
And it's,
Good.
there's always room for change. This is something that we, or not we, but this is something that the board had kind of brought together, and it makes sense. Like, all social service workers usually have the buddy system.
Absolutely, yeah.
And, but like we have upgrades to our security camera system. Doug and I are on call. I think in the future it is a possibility.
Right.
Maybe with the rest of the season, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that just having the numbers that we've had of days that we cannot open,
Right.
that shows like a huge need. The community sees it.
Right.
Also, LGPD and the Sheriff's Department have been a huge help in getting people to the warming station when it's crazy cold. So that is also a good partnership that we have. in
Without the
community.
camera system, I would never want somebody to be there by themselves. That's basically the buddy. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to put somebody in a position to where they're there by themselves and somebody says they did something. Well, no, your buddy, if you were there by yourself, is the camera watching over everything. And you can say, I did not do that. There's a camera. Go ahead and look at it.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I love about LeGrand is that people can get involved on the board, right? I mean, you probably need board members. You need people that are passionate about this kind of thing. And, and I love that about LeGrand, whatever it might be. I mean, if you want to get involved in your kids' school, if you want to get involved in whatever the organization that you're passionate about, there normally is a place where you can go and be a part of that.
Yeah. And we have the next board meeting. It sounds like they're voting in a few more board members.
Good.
So that will be pretty exciting. And I think that having those board members is going to make a huge difference as far as like seeing what is going to go on. It's going to strengthen our partnership with the Fair Housing Council of Oregon and also Veteran Services, which has also been a huge help.
Is it overseen by its own board or is it overseen by Neon board? Like
Its own board.
So it has its own. It has its own board of directors.
Lisa Ladendorf is the board chair, but she also is Neon employee. So.
Okay.
So before we wrap up, if people want to donate, which
what do
you
you
kind of
need? Yeah,
where do they how do they get to the place where they give for this?
So our like if they want to donate goods, it would be great if they could call us first because our donation list is constantly changing.
Okay.
We will see a dramatic drop of donations in the spring and summertime. One, people aren't used to donating during that time because warming station usually wasn't open anymore.
Right.
Well, we have the resource center now, which
Right.
has our food bank, which has shower and laundry services, which has been huge
Right.
help.
What's the number?
My number?
No, what's the number for people to call? You said
Oh,
call.
yes. 541 what is it, 910-3056. I almost gave out my personal number.
Or mine's 541-910-6265.
Yeah.
6265.
Okay, and then the website where they can go if they want to give funds.
So if they want to donate funding, they can send a check to Neon. The check would have to be written out to Neon.
Okay.
And then earmarked for the warming
Okay.
station, or in the memo section or whatever, earmarked for the warming station. And that's because they are our fiscal sponsor.
Sure.
So it's going to have to go through them, but the funding will come to us as long as it says warming station somewhere on the check. And but if it's cash donations and nobody wants like a donation receipt, then
Yeah.
that could just come to the station.
Okay.
They can mail it directly to the station. Address is 501 3rd Street in LeGrand.
Okay.
And if they want to donate stuff, we can always use like base layer clothing, like insulated underwear, tops and bottoms, socks. Underwear is always in demand.
Yeah.
Things like that, hats, gloves, things like that. We're always looking for. And then I'm never one to miss an opportunity for a shameless plug. We also could use volunteers all the time.
There you go.
Yeah, and they can go to our Facebook page. There's an online application on there that they can fill out, and then they can come up, like I said, every Tuesday and Thursday. They start at 5:30. If those times don't work, call me up. I will accommodate what times work for you.
Good.
And how long are the trainings to?
It depends on how many people are there. I've done them with 2 people, and we were over in a half an hour.
Yeah.
I've done them with 15 people, and it took an hour and a half.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends.
And if I'm doing it, it'll take 3 hours with one person.
So yeah, just a couple of, and I'm just trying to ask the hanging questions that people might be interested. So you mentioned it's hard on volunteers to see people in their community come. Kind of what is the mix of people that you're seeing? How many of them are local and how many of them are from out of the area? Because I'm sure you get that question quite a bit.
I mean, it's majority are local.
Okay.
Majority are local. It'll be some people that other community members have seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of, I guess, hidden houselessness.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So students
Yeah.
at EOU.
Of course.
We get, and I was one. I was houseless as a student at EOU for a while. So it's,
We used to have the highest youth homeless rate in the whole state.
I think it's still,
You're probably really close.
Yeah.
And that doesn't that doesn't mean you don't have a place to lay your head.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you're not at home with you. You know what I mean? You could
Yeah.
be couch shopping, but you're still homeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like, I don't know, we're such a small community,
Right.
Yeah.
and so everyone kind of knows everyone somehow,
Right.
and so you are seeing your neighbor who maybe you didn't know was
Right.
suffering from
Right.
houselessness, or, I mean, we work with Shelter from the Storm, fantastic, and then we also work with other organizations like Union County Care, who help with, Union County Care helps with youth that are enrolled in public school, so families with children, we do have families with children that stay with us periodically. It's not very often, but it happens.
Yeah.
And so you have people possibly fleeing domestic situations that haven't been able to, get in with Shelter from the Storm yet, or you're seeing these kids, and families that are still going to school, which is great that they can use the shelter because then those kids can still go to school and like have a place to sleep at night and go to school. But Union County Care program has been hugely helpful, successful in like getting services outside of the shelter and stuff like that for folks. But
And we
yeah,
get a percentage of people that are, just traveling, doing their thing, either train or putting their thumb out or whatever, and they'll, come here, and I think it's pretty cool. They'll come here and, the people that they meet will tell them, yeah, go up to the warming station for a night or two while you're here. They're awesome. The people up there are cool and everything else, and so we get those occasional ones, but
And I think that the majority of people that want to volunteer are usually people that have like some sort of empathy, or maybe they have a perspective that was dramatically changed as soon as they walked in. Like they thought, like, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do this great service. And yes, they are doing a great service, and we're so happy to have them. But maybe they didn't understand how complex the issue is.
Right,
Like
right.
thinking like, oh, this is just like this one thing caused this person to not be able
Yeah.
to have housing, when it's a super complex issue with not just one answer. It's going to be like a million, issues to address. So, and
What's
that can
the
be pretty
hours
grating.
of operation again? What time can you show up if you?
Check-in is at 6 p.m. Doors lock at 10:30 p.m. So nobody allowed after that, unless, I mean, there's exceptions. People that are discharged from the hospital, people that get out of jail, people that show up with like maybe crisis workers, social service worker.
Right.
We have a lot of people that are working and staying at the station. So if their schedule is kind of wonky, they'll talk to us and they'll be able, recovery, people in recovery, they'll go to late night meetings. And
Yeah.
so we'll make accommodations for them. And sometimes we do just get calls from volunteers at night and they're like, so-and-so just showed up. Can we let them in? And yeah, and usually yes, especially if
Find
it's
a
like
way.
negative.
Yeah,
And we're not going to turn anyone away. We are Union County focused,
right.
but we're also designated as an emergency shelter.
Yeah.
So our guest cap is at 25. Road closure, we can have 48 bodies in total in that building. So,
Yeah.
like we're there for emergencies. People's cars break down. People.
And then
yeah.
what time do you have to leave by?
Oh,
Like, is
sorry.
No, you're good.
Checkouts at 8 a.m. by
8
8
a.m.
a.m.
I'm thankful that you're doing more than just giving them a place to stay overnight.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is, I mean, certainly that is the first priority in the middle of winter, but still, I mean, some of these services we've been missing, we've been talking about trying to get off the ground for a long time. And so I'm super thankful that you guys are doing that.
I like the fact that they're going to be accessible in the off season too.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the winter time. Like
Right.
you're going to have the resource center open throughout the whole year, right? And that's
Yeah.
the plan. Like it's a place where, because people are still homeless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like they ain't homeless. It just doesn't hurt as bad to sleep outside
Yeah.
during that time, right?
And during the summertime as well, we have walk-in hours on a daily basis where people can come in, do some laundry, take a shower,
Perfect.
just be there out of the weather and stuff, So
Cooling station.
Apply for jobs.
yeah.
You have computers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, do all, and just come up and get hooked up with all the different services that we have. We do that stuff year round.
I like that.
So one last thing before we quit. Is there anything that you want to clarify? Maybe people, I mean, this is an opportunity for you to say, yeah, we've gotten some criticism about this and this is why. I mean, is there anything that we haven't talked about, that you want to?
I mean, there's like probably a million things
Yeah.
that we could talk about. I think that the public perspective of the warming station and the services that we do is dramatically changed through the new location that we have, our commitment to safety, not just with our guests and volunteers, but the neighbors. Like, we're all about total community. We love it that it's super unique in Union County, in LeGrand. Like, we are super successful in that way. There's going to be a lot of pushback, and hopefully, like, over time, people's perspectives may shift. We're super open to opposing, ideas and like, I guess, discussions with people that have questions or maybe don't agree with what we're doing, because everyone in the community is important to us, you know? So even if people are super against the warming station, that's fine. If something happens to them and they become houseless or,
Right.
addiction comes home, we're here for them too, We're not gonna just like turn community members away. We love our neighbors,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, I think that there's not just one thing to address, but we're going to keep those doors open. We're going to have more open houses, especially, well, in the off season. Dear God, not not during the warming station season, but in the off season, we want to open those doors for everybody to come in and see what we're doing, see maybe how they want to participate in that way, gain perspective, get to know their neighbors who are experiencing houselessness, and kind of see like it isn't just the 20 people that you usually see downtown,
Right.
you know, like.
Right.
And if there's anything that I would want to change or change people's perception on is, you know, when they refer to people experiencing houselessness as those people and things like that, you know, nationwide, statistically, the fastest growing population of people experiencing houselessness is unaccompanied minors.
Yeah.
The next one following that is women with children running from domestic violence situations. And the ones behind that is veterans, you know, and I think a lot of people, you know, view those people, you know, as that nasty person climbing up out of the gutter that's just, you know, horrible, you know, and that's not the case. And I think there's a lot of contempt before investigation. People don't know, and so they're fearful of it. And I would love to change that. You know, our doors are open Monday through Friday, 7 to, you know, whenever. Feel free to come up. I'll give you a tour. I'll talk to you, whatever else, because I know from my experience and what I'm doing up there, if every guest leaves and they know that they're wanted, valued, needed, and loved in our community, they are a whole lot more likely to want to reintegrate into it.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the ways you kill the stereotype is by being transparent and open and accessible.
And we really appreciate you guys being here. And,
absolutely.
And talking about this. And I would say you're absolutely right, Doug. I mean, there was, you know, when I was younger, I was a professional photographer. I would take pictures in inner city places and homelessness, and you know, that was just part of what I was trying to capture. And I remember being at a mission that I was helping with their marketing in Kansas City years ago. And, you know, the director at the time said, people don't think about it, but they're just, many of them are one paycheck away from being homeless. Mm-hmm. And then later on in my life, there was a time I spent a week at the Greenwell Motel here locally. Mm-hmm. And it was like yep, that, I mean, it was a very sobering experience of like, yeah, I'm almost there. So it, you know, I mean, I wish you could convince people. A lot of people are not going to be convinced until they just experience that, or they know somebody who has experienced that. So, no, thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for the way that you guys have kind of advanced the program, and we're, you know, facilitating and helping other people.
Hey, we could not do this without a
Yeah.
million people backing us. So.
Yeah, and hopefully you didn't feel too cornered this morning. I told you, yeah. I mean,
No, I think this is great. I super appreciate the time to do this. We've been busy, and
Yeah.
you guys got me out of bed, so congratulations.
All righty, you want to get us out of here?
Yeah, let's do it. On this day, in 1788, Massachusetts became the 6th state to ratify the Constitution. In 1899, the Spanish-American War ended with a peace treaty ratified by the U.S. Senate. 1911, the first old people home. VC, were you around then? Opened in Prescott, Arizona. Imagine that in Arizona. 1935, Monopoly board game goes on sale for the first time. 1952, and listen to this one because there's another part to this later on. Queen Elizabeth II succeeds King George VI to the British throne and is proclaimed Queen of the United Kingdom. 2014, Jay Leno hosts the Tonight Show for the very last time.
Oh, wow.
And then in 2020, U.S. astronaut Christina Koch becomes the first female astronaut on the longest continuous space flight ever. 328 days on the International Space Station. 2022, right before she died, Queen Elizabeth became the first British monarch to celebrate a platinum jubilee which is 70 years on the throne. That's a long time. to
That's
be
crazy,
queen.
isn't it?
Yep. The number one song in America on this day, Karma Chameleon by Culture Club, 1984. Quote of the day, if you aren't making waves, you aren't kicking hard enough. One more time. If you aren't making waves, you aren't kicking hard enough.
All right.
That's it.
Hey, thank you guys for being here.
Yeah,
really
appreciate
it. Yeah. So on Thursday, I'm going to be talking about my recent Rotary Literacy Compassion trip to El Salvador. We'll have some remote guests with us here. We'll have Joe Meyer from Valley Realty, who is one of my partners who went with me on that trip, and we'll be talking about that cool event. So thanks very much.
See you Thursday.
See you soon.